Can you mix anti-aging advocacy with politics? I think you can. I think I'm going to. Why am I going to? Honestly, it's because I don't want to upload 2 videos. Okay. So I want to clarify the moron that left the message on my video, the free radical theory of aging and the triage theory of aging. That's the first thing I'm going to clarify. And the reason why is the video I made yesterday, I was half asleep because I had to stay up all night because I didn't have to stay up all night, but I didn't get much sleep the night prior because I had to wake up early and I just didn't get to sleep okay. So it was a spur of the moment thing, and he's claiming, now I made a video on Walter Longo's longevity diet. I have nothing wrong with the longevity diet except for how grossly, disgustingly, incompetently inadequate it is in protein. Okay? Especially when we know that eating oodles of plant protein most likely extends lifespan. Plant protein equals a longer lifespan. Okay? So this idea that no matter what, you just have to restrict protein, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, does this work better than any supplement ever? Does it really? Wait, what about the Prolon fasting system? Would that not be considered functional foods that you're eating that are provided by Prolon, which is the company that Walter Longo is the founder of? Would that not be food supplements? I think it would be. And on top of that, any one supplement. Okay, it works better than any supplement. Any one supplement. The whole concept of supplementation is that you need a myriad of supplements. The other thing that was hilarious is this dude completely ignores the triage theory of aging. Bruce Ames's triage theory of aging, which there's actually a shit ton of evidence for. Okay? Not to mention there's a shit ton of evidence for the antioxidant theory of aging, which I'm going to leave links to both the original video I made and the video I made last night so people can follow those to the videos and understand what I'm saying, as well as a link to my review of Dr. Walter Longo's book, The Longevity Diet. Now, I do think there is some credence in a 5-day or partial, like I did Lent. Okay, I do think there's something to restricting protein for set periods of time to get your body to activate certain nutrient sensing pathways that help with repair and things of that nature. My point is try to, with auto, I know it's autophagy everybody likes to say. I say autophagy. Same thing with hypertrophy. I say hypertrophy. Why? Because I'm not a limp-wristed British person. That's why. I don't care if that's how they're supposed to be said. That's how I'm saying them because I'm an American, and I think that's how every American should say them. Hypertrophy and autophagy. Now, let's get into autophagy. What is autophagy? Autophagy is catabolism. That's a good thing in very small quantities. Because your body is like in the theory of yin and yang, you have to balance catabolism with anabolism, or you will starve to death and develop diseases of malnutrition. And we know that malnutrition accelerates the aging process, which we've already known, and now the triage theory proves it beyond a reasonable doubt, but we already knew that. The other thing is this idea that Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw fell into disfavor. No, they didn't. Not to anybody with a brain, they didn't. And the other thing is Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw had a lot more going on than just antioxidants. The use of amino acids and other things, and the other thing with Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw is they were open-minded, just like, might I say, just like Roy Walford, who hated Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw. But the thing is, Roy Walford kept an open mind too. What did Roy Walford recommend in his books? Supplements. He recommends that you take antioxidant and nutrient supplements to make sure you get enough nutrients. Okay? That's the truth. But you don't know that because you read a Walter Longo. Now, what did Walter Longo recommend in the damn longevity diet to people with cancer? Yes. Okay, dude commenting on my video says, oh, well, the facts are the facts, that's true. Oh, well, let's see, Linus Pauling died of prostate cancer. In his freaking 90s, he died of prostate cancer. But what does Walter Longo recommend for cancer patients on the longevity diet, doing the fasting mimicking diet? 8 grams of vitamin C a day. 8 grams. Not 1 gram, not 2 grams, 8 grams. Okay, that's a dose that Linus Pauling might recommend. So there. Oh, well, Walter Longo, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah? Well, Walter Longo, blah, 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 recommends the same damn thing as Linus Pauling. And why do I get so testy about this stuff? I've been learning about life extension. I've been reading up on the subject since I've been about 10 years old. Okay? It's not like this, like, you're going to throw something new at me. Okay? I've been studying this, and that's the thing. Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw fell into disfavor. You know who else is going to fall into disfavor? David Sinclair. David Sinclair, who everybody thinks is super intelligent because he has a fancy little accent. He's going to fall into disfavor because he's an arrogant son of a bitch. That's the whole thing. When he arrogantly says, oh, antioxidants, they don't do very much. I mean, they sweep up free radicals, but blah, 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 while completely ignoring the role that free radicals play in disease causation, especially in the cause of senescence. Now, let's get into the politics I had planned to talk about. Now, anti-aging can only take place where science can take place, and science can only take place where there's stability. So, Lauren Southern had torn apart capitalism. And people might go, what? She tore apart capitalism? But she's a conservative. You can't be a conservative and be a capitalist. I've said that for a very long time now. You cannot be a conservative, socially conservative, and be a capitalist. The two things are at odds with one another. The other thing you can't be and be a capitalist is a nationalist. Now, some communists like to say fascism is capitalism. Fascism is not capitalism. Fascism is fascism. Okay? Now, give me a break because it's been about 23 or 24, maybe more years since I've read Das Kapital by Karl Marx. But in Das Kapital, Karl Marx basically explains what state capitalism is and how communism is virtually state capitalism, and how, and again, it's been well over 20 years, maybe even 30 years. It's been, I was 11 or 12 when I read Das Kapital. But the point is, what Marx explains in Das Kapital is that both communism and capitalism ultimately are capitalistic, in the sense that the idea is to have more production. More production. This is the reason, actually, we can achieve communism today due to technology. Should we necessarily achieve communism necessarily by eradicating classes and things like that? I don't think so, but that's for another video. The point is, with things like automation, 3D printing, and things of that nature, robotic surgeries, things of this, we can probably eradicate a lot of the labor force, meaning we can liberate the worker from working. This is why Marxist communism never ever panned out in reality, is because it basically, even though you have a communist system, it still grasps the capitalist idea of money. judging people by how much money they make, by what their job is, and you can't really eradicate that people that are more important get paid more money. You can't eradicate the idea that some people are more important than other people, okay? It's just the truth. There's a reason the person in charge is the person in charge, or at least there should be a reason. So essentially what you have to understand is that, basically speaking, you can't have communism if you're sticking to the money mind, what Charles Manson calls the money mind. And the reason why is because the money mind perverts the outlook of the person. It perverts the outlook of society. It makes people judged, and this is why National Socialism and other third positionist ideas work. People need to be judged on what they produce for society, whether it's from a philosophical or artistic point, or whether it's labor, or whether it's simply the guy that, is a good person. You need to find a new way to judge the worth of the individual in a truly communistic society. And that's what was never accomplished in either the Soviet Union or in Cuba or anywhere where or North Korea, anywhere where communism has been implemented, because they need to stick to that capitalistic mind, because that seems to be what, that's how society's set up. And that's basically it. But the ultimate thing that I would like to point out, and I'm leaving links to Lauren Southern's videos and things like that, watch the videos. To somebody critiques Lauren Southern. Are we going to have a Nazbol vortex, as the one guy says? I don't think so. But what I do think is you are going to find more conservatives that start grasping ideas that are more similar to my ideas, where you start to understand that maybe a more communistic economy is more in sync with true conservatism. And you start seeing people, like one of my examples, my ex-girlfriend don't like me bringing her up in my videos, but I mean, she had enough money saved to buy a house before she had a pulmonary embolism. Now, I had already given up on capitalism before this happened, but she had enough money saved, working her ass off since the time she was 13 years old, to buy a house. That's what she was planning on doing. And I was trying to get out of the situation at the time, so I didn't care. I just wanted out. But what happened is she had suffered a pulmonary embolism, and because me, again, I'm not a capitalist. My goal at that time was to have the childrens, and I had a womans that I wanted to have the childrens with. Unfortunately, I do not think she wanted to have the childrens with me, unfortunately. But what happened was, my ex-girlfriend had the money, thousands and thousands of dollars saved. She needed back surgery. Had to pay out of pocket because her Obama Salamacare didn't cover it. Okay? Then, on top of that, she suffers a pulmonary embolism. For the 3 months or so that they put her on bed rest, caused a blood clot that went through her lung, killed her. She had to be resuscitated 3 times. Had to spend 2 weeks in the hospital. Had to spend a number of months recovering, paying for physical therapy out of her pocket. And this is the thing, is the people like her that worked and paid into the system and paid for other people to live. Because that's what you're doing when you pay for, and that's one of the things, like, I'm on disability now, I don't lie, I'm crazy. I am batshit crazy at this point. I was driven insane by working, okay? And the thing is, and other reasons, of course, but my ex-girlfriend, for example, the situation that she suffered wiped out her savings. She's still not fully recovered, okay? She's still not well. She cannot get the medical help that she needs. She can't afford the tests that she needs. She can't afford the things that she needs. She can't afford the medicine she needs. And, like, it's literally, do I pay my rent on time, or do I buy the anticoagulant I need so that I don't get another blood clot and die type of situation. This is what America has become. This is what Karl Marx actually predicted. I do think that capitalist countries, which the United States is not technically capitalist, and it never was, and it did its best under socialism. In the 80s, we were very socialistic. What happened is in the 90s, Bill Clinton started privatizing a lot of the welfare programs and things like that, so it quit being government to consumer and started being capitalist to consumer, corporation to consumer. And it really turned into how can we make money off of helping people? You can't make money off of helping people. But long story short, if there was anything that got me to fully give up any hope for capitalism as a system that works, especially for this country, it was seeing the absolute degradation of my ex-girlfriend's situation. Through no fault of her own, somebody that did all the right things in life completely have everything snatched out from under her while she continued to work, and she still continues to work. And she refuses to go on disability because she is one of those people, a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, a liberal. She's an anti-racist and all this happy horse crap. How I ended up with her, I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's right. She was in the gifted program, had a high IQ, and at one time I wanted to have kids with her. But the point is, someone like that is not honored in this society. They're seen as a disposable piece of society, whereas the lowest filth are supported by somebody like that. And that is what led me to understand, a communist structure where people are actually pursuant of bettering society and where people can get the medicine they need to live, where they can get the help they need to live, okay? And people that say that this doesn't happen and that you have to wait for medicine and blah, 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 blah. Number one, in a country like the United States that's as economically prosperous and as rich with natural resources as the United States, we could definitely implement a communistic structure far superior to anything seen in the world before, because we just have the ingenuity, the know-how, the technology, etc. The other thing is, it's kind of idiotic to say that because a lot of people in this country, like my ex-girlfriend and like me for the longest time, especially when I was homeless, when I had no food, no medicine for 4 years, I couldn't get anything, no help. I had no help. There's programs now, there are some better programs now, but at that time, there wasn't anything. And most of the programs that help the homeless now, they do not come from the government. Okay, and this is the flaw. They're not coming from the taxpayers, which is where they should be. It should be an investment in the people from the people. What it is, it's the churches doing direct from church to consumer. And even that's had a monkey wrench thrown into it with the COVID-19. The communal meals and things like that came about by the churches, no longer happening because of the COVID-19. So the thing is, if anything, this is reaching a critical point where the countries like the United States are either going to embrace a communist economic structure and embrace social conservatism, or they're going to collapse. They're going to falter. And that's just the facts are the facts with that. That is what has happened. This was predicted by Karl Marx. I'm not a fan of Karl Marx. Now, the one thing I will say is people like to talk about how Ayn Rand is naughty and Ayn Rand is bad and Ayn Rand. Okay, well, the fact of the matter is with Ayn Rand, which I will give the last lecture she did, I'll put it in the description of the video. Ayn Rand finally got wise to the capitalists and how the capitalists are putting themselves out there as sacrificial lambs, and how they're purposely trying to make, because if you remember Ayn Rand, the industrialist, was the dude. He was the Übermensch, okay? He was the overman. And what happened is she realized these industrialists were the ones that were pushing these communist filth ideas, not communism like I'm talking about with social conservatism. I'm talking about this BLM bullshit was being pushed by these rich industrialists. Some of them of the same tribe as Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand was wrong about a whole lot, okay? But I think that if you're true to objectivism, if you're true to thinking objectively, you realize that all societies are collectivist to some extent or another. There are many benefits to collectivization, and you also understand that a lot of Ayn Rand's psychological issues with collectivism and communism and things like that come from what she saw in her country by the Bolshevik takeover, with the fact that her family was upper middle class and had everything stripped from them. Okay, that's what you see. You have to understand the person of Ayn Rand to understand where her flaws come in. Okay, she also stated we should support Israel. I don't think we should support Israel. Why did she say we should support Israel? Well, probably because she was Jewish. That doesn't make her wrong in the core of what objectivism is. It just doesn't. And that's the problem, is a lot of people don't see that. And that's all for this video.